and gentlemen, welcome to a very, very foggy Odsal Stadium on Sunday afternoon, and as we can see there, Peter Fox and the referee are making a decision about this afternoon's game. It looks like the game's going to go ahead. The referee's shaking his head. The fog here at Odsal's lifting a little bit, so we may have some news from Odsal a little bit later on this afternoon. Well, once again, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The fog lifted here at Odsal and the game about to get underway, so very, very quickly we'll go through the teams this afternoon for Bradford Northern. Number 1, Ian Wilkinson. Number 2, Tony Marchant. Number 3, Daryl Shelford. Number 4, Tony Anderson. Number 5, Henderson Gill. Number 6, Roger Simpson. Number 7, Neil Summers. Number 8, David Hobbs. Number 9, Brian Noble. Number 10, Paul Gratian, starting the game this afternoon for the first time in 18 months. Number 11 is Paul Medley. 12th, Carl Fairbank. And at number 13, John Pendlebury. At number 14, Brett Eatey. And at number 15, John Hamer. And the Leigh East team, it's number 1, Mark Husworth. Number 2, Simon Helam. Number 3, David Kay. Number 4, Darren Colehase. Number 5, Mick Shepherd. Number 6, John Grunning. Number 7, Darren Buxton. Number 8, Mark Turnock. Number 9, Ian Carroll. Number 10, Phil Pennywich. Number 11, Gary Sandby. Number 12, Andy Jones. And at number 13, Phil Gunning. At number 14, Martin James. And at number 15, Peter Barley. And the referee for this afternoon's Regal Trophy first round match, Mr. Burke. And he's decided this game will go ahead this afternoon as Bradford Northern come out onto the park. The fog seems to be lifting a little bit here at Odsal this afternoon. At least we can see the top of the stand now, so very, very quickly we'll have this game underway. And of course, the draw tomorrow evening for that second round of the Regal Trophy, and everybody going forward this year to a record £32,000 prize money. So it's a trophy well worth winning. And after Warrington going out yesterday, the holders, it's up to Bradford Northern now against these amateurs from Leigh, who gave us a very, very good game last year around about this time in the preliminary round of the Silk Cut Challenge Cup. But it's the opposite coin this afternoon. It's the Regal Trophy, so Bradford Northern and Leigh East here at a very, very foggy Odsal Stadium. So the two captains there shaking up in the middle. So very, very quickly we'll get this game underway. As the fog seems to be lifting here at Odsal, we can now see the far side of the stadium from just under the players' tunnel. The camera a little bit lower down this afternoon, so it'd be Leigh East to get this game underway. Of course, Leigh East were the Bala national champions last year, lost quite a few players to the second division, third division teams, but Leigh get the game underway. So the ball goes long deep to Ian Wilkinson. Ian Wilkinson taps the ball with his foot and looking to drive the ball out of his 25. And Ian Wilkinson, a good break there, up to his own 25, push one or two tacklers off. So Northern with Paul Gratian now. Paul Gratian on the bang, up into the centre of the field. And referee straight away awarding a penalty there. The Leigh player holding down on Paul Gratian, so it's a penalty to Bradford Northern. Midway between the 25 and the halfway line as David Hobbs comes up to kick the ball high and finding touch on that far side, just inside the Leigh East half, so it'd be Brian Noble from the acting half-back position out to Neil Summers. Summers with the run round on to Paul Medley. Medley knocks one off, but a little bit of a high tackle there, and straight away Mr. Burke, the referee, comes in. Medley went down there, went down a little bit heavy, but Straight away the physio on. So, incidents here at Odsal right from the word go this afternoon with the fog, but pleased to say that we can see a little bit further around the stadium now as Maria there just attending to Paul Medley after that high tackle by the lead player. And David Hobbs signalling that Medley coming off, so it looks like a substitute warming up. Paul Medley obviously gone down very, very hard then. Looks a little bit shaken, but the signal's coming from the field as Chris goes on the dock just to have a look at Paul Medley as so Paul Medley unfortunately in the first couple of minutes being assisted off the field. It looks like a knee problem from where we are, so John Hamer will come on for a game as referee brings out the centre. The number 4 there, which was Darren Colhayes, for that high tackle as Paul Medley brought off the field, and John Hamer coming into the fray just 2 minutes into this game here at Odsal Stadium. So it's North now in the lead 25 with David Hobbs, the run round with Tony Marchant as Marchant driving towards the post, but he's well attended there by 2 or 3 Leigh players. Paul Gratian now on the bang, but another kick from that touchline, so Northern now with 10 minutes gone in this Regal Trophy first round match. Bradford Northern lead 12 points to 0. So Leigh get the ball underway, but straight out, the ball goes straight into touch from that kick-off. So that's a penalty to Bradford Northern. On the centre spot, David Hobbs electing to go for touch. So David Hobbs puts the ball into touch on the Leigh East 25. So Northern once again with a chance to mount an attack with John Hamer driving in. Hamer drives in, but he's well tackled. Gratian once again, Gratian making holes in the defence, offloads the ball, and Northern whipping the ball out. Roger Simpson out to Ian Wilkinson in the line. Wilkinson offloads the ball to Anderson. Anderson now, but Anderson's finally brought to ground on that far side, but Northern throwing the ball about this afternoon. Carl Fairbank with the ball now, offloads the ball to Roger Simpson. Roger props, ducks inside, but finally brought to ground by his opposing number. Northern with David Hobbs. Hobbs with the long ball out to Daryl Shelby. Good ball out to Tony Marchant as Tony Marchant slices through 2 Leigh players there and scores a good try, but once again, good build-up by Bradford Northern. A chance for Northern this afternoon to get a little bit of confidence and throw this ball about against the amateurs, but good break by David Hobbs. Flicked the ball on to Daryl Shelford, who drew his wingman nicely, and Tony Marchant still with a lot to do, but sliced through 2 Leigh defenders and scored a try some 15 yards from the upright. So Northern should be in for a good score this afternoon. Much needed to boost the confidence as David Hobbs looks up at the post again. And the ball going in off the far upright. So Bradford Northern, 15 minutes gone on the clock here. Lead now by 18 points to 0. So it's Leigh East to get the game underway again. Got quite a good vocal following here this afternoon of Leigh East. I was talking to one of their chaps earlier on, but John Hamer bringing the ball down the blind side, but good tackle there by the 2 Leigh players. The number 4, the number 2 there, which is Simon Heelan, putting John Hamer into touch, so down we go to scrum. On the 25, And it's Leigh East to feed the ball. The ball in, but coming out the same way, so referee saying, down we go to scrum again. So the ball in, coming out Leigh's way. Northern with the big push on, and the ball coming out. Neil Summers seemed to win that ball, but the second row there, the number 11 Gary Sainsbury, very, very quick out of the pack and falling on that loose ball as Leigh looked to move the ball out, trying to move it across. The big number 4, Darren Colhase, as the Leigh players once again mounting an attack with the standoff. The number 6, John Gunning, two brothers playing for Leigh this afternoon, John and Philip Gunning at 6 and 13, but the Leigh players wandering round a bit as Carl Fairbank comes in to tackle the Leigh player, put him down. And a nice floated ball out there, but it's a good tackle by Bradford Northern there, by Darryl Shelford on the winger as the ball goes up high. Good high kick there from Leigh's, but Carl Fairbank underneath it. And the Leigh player very, very quickly there in onto that ball. So once again, Leigh with 6 tackles to go to try and make inroads into this Bradford Northern line. The big number 10 there, Phil Pennywich, flips the ball out, but once again Leigh bringing the ball back inside when it looked to be that if they'd moved that ball out the right hand side there was an overlap, but Leigh with the ball coming across to Darren Colix again, but flips the ball over and the ball spinning and bobbling, but good tackle there by Tony Marchant. No knock on, the referee signals no knock on, so Leigh once again trying to work the blind side with the number 11 Gary Sainsbury, but he's well brought down by Paul Gratian and Tony Marchant as referee signals the last tackle. Stand-off half puts a good deep kick into the corner there. That's John Gunning, but only as far as Henderson Gill, but Henderson Gill lets the ball go dead, so it'll be a tap out to Bradford Northern on the 25. As Northern bring the ball away with David Hobbs. Hobbs flips the ball on to Tony Anderson, and Tony Anderson slicing through there. A good sidestep from Tony Anderson slicing through, but Northern now moving the ball with Roger Simpson, John Pendlebury looking to miss Ian Wilkinson out, but Roger Simpson sweeping up at the back as Roger trying to get away, but it's a good tackle on Roger Simpson there. So it's Gratian now. Gratian looking to drive this ball out. Running across the field, offloads out of the back door to Carl Fairbank. Fairbank knocks one off, offloads the ball, but Bradford Northern throwing this ball about, the ball going to ground a little bit, but managing to retain possession as David Hobbs, once again with Wilkinson out to Roger Simpson. Roger Simpson looks to make the half break, but a good tackle on Roger Simpson. And once again, the referee penalising the number 6, John Gunning there, for holding Roger Simpson down in that tackle. So Mr. Burke giving the penalties to Bradford. Obviously the amateurs this afternoon very, very keen, very, very fired up as David Hobbs puts a good kick into touch midway between the try line and the Leigh's 25. So once again Northern to mount an attack. Noble out to Summers. Summers with the run round on to John Hamer. Hamer takes the drive in towards the post, but finally brought down. Northern with Paul Gratian. Gratian looking to knock one off, tries to knock 2 off, but finally brought down just short of the line. Northern with the switch on. Pendlebury, good ball out to Tony Marchant, but Marchant ball just that little bit too high, and Tony Marchant couldn't take that ball, so that'll be a scrum down 10 yards from the Leigh East line, and Leigh East to feed the scrum. The ball in, out, but referee adjudging there that Northern collapsing the pack, so a free kick to Leigh East for Bradford Northern collapsing that pack before the ball came out, so Leigh East to relieve the pressure on the line, and that's a good little kick there by the Leigh player, finding touch. Tony Marchant, Ian Wilkinson there touching that ball, but referee adjudging it's still a put in to Leigh East. Ian Wilkinson looked to try and charge that ball down before it had gone into touch, but touch judge ruling that he was in touch, so it'll be Leigh East to feed the scrum. scrum half, Ian Cadell, puts the ball in. As the standoff there, Darren Buxton straightens up, brings the ball away. So once again, Leigh mounting attack with the number 10, Phil Pennywick. Pennywick, obviously the mainspring of this Leigh team. They lost quite a few players after their successful run as they move the ball out again, trying to work it out wide, but Bradford Northern there, Carl Fairbank up very, very quickly on his opposing number, brings him to ground as the kick. Good kick into space there, into the box as the winger comes up very, very quickly on Ian Wilkinson, but Ian Wilkinson offloads the ball nicely inside to Tony Marchant, but a good tackle by Sandy Sandby on Marchant brings him to ground as Northern once again start to drive this ball in with Brian Noble from the acting halfback. Summers switches the ball inside to Carl Fairbank. Fairbank offloads the ball, flips it over the top to John Hamer. Once again, a high tackle there on John Hamer. Looked to be an instinct tackle more than anything, but John Hamer goes down, and straight away the referee looked as though it pointed to the touchline. It's the same player that did the high tackle on Paul Medley when Medley went off. So the referee gave him a warning, and finally, second warning, gets his marching orders. So an unfortunate thing there for Leigh. Down to 12 men now, but don't forget, when they played against Chorley, they ended up with 11 men. They had a couple of players sent off. And it's the centre, Darren Colhase, who was sent from the field there. So Leigh down to 12 players now as Northern bring the ball. Paul Gratian looking to drive in, still on his feet, but finally brought to ground just inside the Leigh's 25. John Hamer once again. Good strong running by John Hamer. Hamer just finally brought down by the fullback. A good tackle there by Martin Husbeth on John Hamer with the line out. Bradford Northern now with all the options on. And a good pass there from David Hobbs. A good short ball as Carl Fairbank goes over just at the side of the post. And Northern now starting to look a little bit sharper. Leigh East had a good 5-10 minute spell, but finally Northern there. From that resulting penalty, the Leigh player sent off, Northern moving the ball out, and a nice little short ball there from David Hobbs to Carl Fairbank, and Fairbank touching down just by the side of the post. So it'd be David Hobbs to attempt to increase Northern's lead. Score at the moment 22-0 to Bradford Northern as Hobbs comes up, strikes the ball, and the ball just going wide of the left-hand post. So just over 20 minutes gone here at Odsal. Bradford Northern 22, Leigh East 0.
Come on, East! Keep them heads up! Come on, lad! Come on, keep your heads up!
So Leigh East to get the game underway again. Good high kick there. And Neil Summers takes the ball, offloads on to Ian Wilkinson as Wilkinson. It's a bit of a gallop up as far as the 25, but he's tackled by the number 12, Andy Jones. Northern now moving this ball about with Brian Noble. Brian Noble taking that nice little reverse pass off Carl Fairbank. Roger Simpson from the acting halfback goes over the back of John Pendlebury's. Northern moving the ball out with Anderson out to Dal Shelford. A good ball to Tony Marchant. Marchant looks to step inside, but finally comes down under the second row pairing of Jones and Sansby of Leigh East, but Northern once again moving this ball out. Roger Simpson checked, comes inside. Roger pins his ears back, and Roger should have looked the other way there. Roger Tony Anderson unmarked on his right hand side, but decided to go on. But Northern now moving this ball. Nice ball lofted over. Good inside pass from Carl Fairbank to Ian Wilkinson. Wilkinson still offloads the ball as Henderson Gill goes in, scores a try in the corner, and Northern now starting to run this ball about. Some good support play there. A little bit of weak tackling from Leigh East that was allowing Bradford Northern to flip this ball about, but All started off from that good run by Roger Simpson, made the inroads, and then the ball flipped out very, very quickly on that far side. Looked as though Roger had made a mistake with not offloading the ball to Tony Anderson on his right-hand side, but Norden extend the lead a little bit further now by 26 points to 0, and it's David Hobbs on that far side of the field to attempt to convert that very, very good fluid-flowing Bradford Norden try.
Come on, East! Come on, East! Keep at it, lads! Come on!
So David Hobbs failing with that kick from the touchline. So the score with 23 minutes gone on the clock. Bradford Norden 26, Leigh East 0, and of course Leigh East down to 12 men, but let's not forget they beat Chorley in that preliminary round. They were down to 11 men and came out winners 20 points to 5. Right, it's Tony Marchant fielding the ball on his own line. Looks to come inside, but Gary Sandby comes up very, very quickly there and brings Tony Marchant down. So Norden looking to drive this ball out with Paul Gratian. Paul Gratian brought to ground, but Summers offloads the ball on to John Hamer. John Hamer, first game back for 3 games. John had a little bit of an infection, but Brian Noble spots the gap from the acting half-back, but good tackle there on Brian Noble when the line looked to be open, but Norden now with David Hobbs. Hobbs offloads inside to John Pendlebury. Pendlebury on to Roger Simpson. Roger checks, props one way, but offloads the ball to Ian Wilkinson, out to Daryl Shelford. Shelford looking to come down this side. Norden looking to throw this ball about, but Mr. Burke signals the last tackle. So David Hobbs puts boot to ball, and the ball bobbling up there in the corner. Well trapped by the fullback John Husworth, but he's well met by Tony Marchant and Daryl Shelford and brought to ground inside his own 25. So it's Leigh to try and drive this ball out of their own 25. Norden forwards up very, very quickly on these Leigh players this afternoon. The difference between First Division and, of course, the Barla National League. So 4 tackles gone for Leigh East. And the player there looking to kick the ball, miskicked it as Bradford Norden there fumbled the ball. The ball was hobbling about, and referee wipes it back to 0. So it's Leigh to try and bring this ball out. They've another 5 tackles to try and get out of their own 25, but not a lot of enterprise showing. Of course, Derek Pike, their coach, the ex-Widnes player, had to pack it playing 2 years ago, unfortunately. So no doubt he'll have a lot to say to them at half-time. The game plan obviously didn't look as though it was working, as Bradford Norden once again very, very quickly 6 tackles have eroded away. So the ball back to Leigh, who punched the ball into the Bradford half, but Ian Wilkinson hanging way back as Ian Wilkinson gets a good run up, breaks 1 tackle, but finally brought to ground by the number 12 Andy Jones. The ball flipped out from Roger Simpson onto John Hamer, but once again a little bit of good tackling from this second row pair of Sansby and Jones, but referee straight in. It looks like a Leigh player down there injured in that tackle, came in, met John Hamer, but obviously came out of it a little bit worse for wear. So the Leigh physio on, and of course Leigh, as I've said, were the Barla champions last year, the National League champions, and then straight away the side was decimated. They lost 3 or 4 players to the professional club in the town of Leigh, and of course Leigh going through traumatic things, so 1 or 2 of the star players, but the Leigh player there back on his feet. So it's Bradford Norden to play the ball. David Hobbs working the blind, switches on to Neil Summers. Summers coming on the short ball, but he's well tackled. Hobbs flips the long ball out to John Pendlebury. The ball just over the ring, but Carl Fairbank sweeping up at the back. Manages to step out of one tackle, but offloads to John Pendlebury. Pendlebury turning his back, looking to offload that ball, but tackled by the number 3, David Kay. Hobbs missing the ball out, and Daryl Shelford spinning that ball. Well picked up there by Simon Heelan, but Heelan driven back by Brian Noble and John Hamer. So it's Leigh to mount an attack again. Leigh East with the big number 8 there. Mark Turnock flipping the ball out across the field, but players, nice little chip over the top, but Ian Wilkinson there waiting for that ball in a good position. Half breaks one tackle, but finally brought to ground just short of the halfway line. So it's Brian Noble from the acting halfback on to David Hobbs, but Hobbs well tackled there. Paul Gratian once again with a bit of a gallop, looking to go in, turn his back, but finally brought to ground. Northern with the switch on. Pendlebury with the ball out. Good ball to Ian Wilkinson. A little bit lower down as Wilkie offloads the ball once again to Pendlebury, but that tackle looked like the old Cumberland throw there. The one-arm tackle as Henderson Gill gets the ball away from acting halfback to Roger Simpson. Simpson switches the ball inside to Carl Fairbank. Ball offloaded to Henderson Gill. A bit of a tricky one, but the referee signals the last tackle. David Hobbs flips the ball out, and the ball charged down by a Leigh player, but Mr. Burke bringing the standoff back. John Gunning for a knock on. So Northern on that 6th tackle get the head and the put in. That little mistake from the Leigh standoff, trying to charge that ball down as Summers feeds the scrum. The ball out to Roger Simpson. Simpson props, goes one way, but tackled, brought down when there's a good line on for Northern as John Pendlebury takes the drive up. Pendlebury brought down there by 2 or 3 Leigh players as the ball. Gratian sells the dummy. Nice little run round there. A good pass from Gratian, but Neil Summers just that little bit too anxious there, coming round, and the ball going to ground. So it's a scrum down inside the Leigh 25 of the field. And Leigh to feed the scrum. Big push on there, big drive by Bradford Northern, but referee saying the ball came out the same way, so down we go to scrum once again with Northern with the push on. But Leigh get that ball from the scrum. So it's Leigh to bring the ball away. A good tackle there. And the Leigh player just losing that ball in that good tackle by Neil Summers. So half an hour gone on the clock here at Odslers. That fog has lifted now, the rain starting to come down. Chilly cold afternoon, so Bradford Northern obviously wanting to run about. The ball in to Neil Summers. Summers switches the ball blind to John Pendlebury. Pendlebury looking for the supporting Henderson Gill. Henderson Gill scores a good try under the post there. A nice little break from the back of the scrum by John Pendlebury. The ball switched inside. Henderson Gill coming in off the wing and scoring just at the left-hand side of the post. So Northern, with that half an hour gone, 31 minutes on the clock, extend the lead to 30 points to 0 here at Odsal Stadium this afternoon in this first round of the Regal Trophy. So David Hobbs underneath the post virtually. David kicked 3 goals this afternoon, 6 tries, 3 goals. Strikes the ball, and the touch judges raise the flag, so Northern extend the lead here. 4 goals to David Hobbs, 6 tries, so that makes the score 32 points to 0 in this first round with 8 minutes to go to half-time. Leigh East to get the game underway again. Of course, Leigh down to 12 players. the big centre, Cole Hayes, sent off for that high tackle on John Hamer, as Leigh get the game underway again with the short little kick, but only as far as Daryl Shelford. Shelford takes that ball well. John Pendlebury at the acting half-back position, out to Brian Noble. Noble takes the drive in, takes 1, 2, 3 players with him, and straight away the referee spotted a fist going in there on Brian Noble. Looks like it looks like the hooker, so obviously a little bit of a battle on between the... No, it's not, it's the number 10, so I thought it was the hooker there, the number 10 there, Phil Pennywick, penalised for that punch on Brian Noble. And the fullback also there getting a warning, Martin Hudspeth, unless he's captain of the Leigh's team, with no indication on the programme, as David Hobbs puts the ball into touch on the far side. So that's up to the Leigh's 25. Noble from the acting halfback to David Hobbs. Offloads to Henderson Gill. Gill looking to dance, bobble about, but finally comes down under 2 or 3 Leigh's players. Carl Fairbank. Good tackle on Carl Fairbank there that stopped Carl in his tracks. Norton with Paul Gratian once again. Gratian knocks one off. Spins out of 2 tackles. Offloads the ball nicely to Carl Fairbank. Fairbank props inside. Gives the ball to Ian Wilkinson. Ball offloaded again. Roger Simpson straightening up, looking to straighten up, but losing the ball there. So Leigh once again the pressure on, but Paul Gratian having a good game this afternoon. Running at these Leigh forwards, knocking them off. So it's Leigh to try and bring this ball away again. Good tackling, good strong tackling by Bradford Norton. A lot of endeavour from these amateurs this afternoon as the ball kicked over, and Tony Marchant there doing well, just getting a hand to it, picks the ball up, gives it to Ian Wilkinson. Wilkinson with the run round, Marchant with the run round. Nice little ankle tap there that brings Tony Marchant down on the halfway line, but it's Roger Simpson from the acting halfback looking to try and make a half break, but Roger electing to go on his own. Noble to Summers, on to Hobbs. Hobbs straightening up. Hobbs looking to offload, but a good tackle there by the Leigh players, smothering the man and ball, John Pendlebury. Pendlebury slips the ball out, a good ball out there, and of course John Pendlebury's brother was in that Leigh side who signed the Leigh amateur side. Nice switch inside there to John Pendlebury, and a pass there going inside. Roger Simpson dancing about, runs round, beats 1, beats 2, beats 3. Finally tries to offloads the ball out, but a good tackle there as referee signals the last tackle. Carl Fairbank from the acting halfback. And straight away that's the 6th tackle. Bradford Norton making the mistake, so it's the handover to Leigh East. So Leigh East very, very lucky there, and straight away the touch judge comes running in on that far side, seen some infringement on the far side, and just having a word with it's John Hamer that is pulling out. So John Hamer being pulled out, something gone on in the tackle that we couldn't see from this side, but the touch judge reporting it to Mr. Burke. So Leigh a chance to relieve the line. Very, very sparse crowd here at Odsal this afternoon. The weather conditions prior to kick-off terrible, but at least we managed to get the match underway. That fog lifting with that little bit of rain coming down. So it's Leigh looking to get this ball out, but a little bit of a planned move there, didn't seem to come off. Leigh looking to go around the blind side, but Paul Gratian there meeting his man very, very quickly. Leigh once again trying to work that blind, but running straight into the waiting arms of John Hamer and Carl Fairbank. Leigh with the little chip over the top. Nicely taken there. Good take, and the Leigh players now mounting an attack. Good running. Nice little chip once again. The Bradford Northern defence caught unawares as they were at Warrington last week with that chip. So it's Leigh with a nice little chip into the corner, but Daryl Shelford looks to have that ball, and that ball just a little bit too far, but a good enterprising attack there from Leigh. That's the best attack they've had of the game. That chip over the top, and the centre collecting the ball very well, but it's Norton too. Get the ball away again. Good ball offloaded there by Carl Fairbank onto Henderson Gill, who flipped the ball out to Tony Anderson. He's brought down on the halfway line. So it's Norton once again with John Hamer. Hamer taking the drive, knocks one off. Good strong running from John Hamer. Plays the ball. Summers onto Paul Gratian. Ball bobbling about. Well offloaded by Paul Gratian to Neil Summers, but Summers brought down. So it's David Hobbs. Ball out to Carl Fairbank. Fairbank switches the ball inside to Hobbs. Good ball too, Brian Noble. Noble going for the post, but good tackle there on Brian Noble with the line open. Norton now moving the ball out to the right. Good ball out to Shelford. Along to Summers, and Summers goes over in the corner. The Leigh players there judging, trying to claim that Neil Summers put a foot in touch, but a nice little run round there and a good pass flicked up from Daddle Shelford onto Neil Summers, and Summers goes over in that corner to extend Norton's lead by another 4 points. We make it 2 or 3 minutes left on the clock, but don't forget there's those stoppages for the injuries to Paul Medley and to John Hamer. So it's David Hobbs from this touchline, right on the, virtually on the touchline itself. David Hobbs comes up, strikes the ball now, a good strike of the ball, but it's just drifting to the left of the post. So 2 or 3 minutes to go to half-time in this Regal Trophy first round here at Odsal Stadium. Bradford North now with 7 tries on the board, 4 goals to David Hobbs.
Keep it up, come on, keep that up.
So Leigh once again get the ball underway, but ball well taken there on that far side by Tony Anderson, who quickly offloaded the ball to Daddle Shelford. Shelford finally brought down on the halfway line. Norton with the options on, a good nice little inside run there. Ball flipped up as the half-time hooter goes here at Odsal Stadium. A half-time score, Bradford Northern 36, Leigh East 0. Quite a good half by Bradford Northern. Obviously, Derek Pike got a little bit of talking to do to the Leigh players during that half-time interval, down to 12 men. But I think Peter Fox will be well happy with that first half performance here this afternoon. Teams coming out for this second half, and the substitution on the number 15 there, Peter Bailey, coming onto the park. I just can't see who's gone off at the moment, but Norton with that 36-0 half-time lead, and of course the record score that Bradford Northern have scored is 72 points, so halfway there as David Hobbs gets this second half underway. Good long deep kick into the corner, but well taken by the Leigh East player, but very, very quickly met by Brian Noble there as Noble brings the Leigh player down, but Leigh looking to drive this ball out, but once again the Bradford Northern tackling up to it as Leigh missed the man out, but once again sucked into the 2 defenders there of Brian Noble and Carl Fairbank. Leigh chipping the ball over the top, and just unfortunate there, the ball touching a Bradford Northern player. It would have been play on, but the Leigh player there, the standoff half, John Gunning, just couldn't pick that ball up, so down we go to scrum between the halfway line and the 25. Neil Summers feeds the scrum. Leigh looking to spin the scrum round, but the ball out to Roger Simpson. Simpson straightens up, but he's well tackled by his loading number and losing the ball there in the tackle, so the advantage to Bradford Northern gone as Leigh looked to drive this ball out with the substitute 15, Peter Bailey. Bailey offloads the ball, and a good strong tackle there on the Leigh player, making the player spin that ball out. It's Brian Noble's tackle there as the ball goes out to Paul Gratian. Gratian looks to shrug 1 or 2 off, but finally brought down under 2 or 3 Leigh players. Noble from the acting half-back out to Roger Simpson, on to David Hobbs. Hobbs, a good ball out to Tony Anderson. Anderson streaking away for the corner, passes the ball on to Daryl Shelford, and Shelford scoring a good try. So once again, the speed of the First Division against the National Amateur League, the Barla National Amateur League, showing there, but good break there by Tony Anderson, and the ball passed on very, very quickly to Daryl Shelford, and Shelford going over midway between the post and the corner flag. So 40 points on the board already here at Odsal this afternoon, as David Hobbs lines himself up to take the kick, and it looks like Brett Eatey warming up on the touchline. So David Hobbs strikes the ball, but the ball going to the right-hand side of the post. So just 1 minute gone in the second half of this game. Bradford Northern extend their lead. It's now Bradford Northern 40, Leigh East 0. And the substitution, as we thought, Neil Summers coming off and Brett Eatey going on for a run. Summers had a good first half, but Brett Eatey now the chance to run at some of these Leigh players, and Leigh also making a substitution. The number 14 there going on. And that's James that's gone on for Leigh East, as Leigh East get the ball away, and the ball straight into the arms of Brett Eatey, who offloads to Carl Fairbank. Fairbank driving up to his own 25, but he's brought to ground. Eatey on to John Hamer. Hamer driving away, and John obviously looking to get back into the game after that two-match layoff. Northern, Eatey switches the ball inside to Hamer, but Hamer finally brought down. Pendlebury looking to half offload that ball, but just couldn't get the ball away. The supporting David Hobbs was there. Roger Simpson with the chip over the top, but the fullback there well positioned, as both Eatey and Simpson up very, very quickly on the fullback. Mark, as Leigh looked to bring the ball away, but the Bradford Northern pack looks to be a lot bigger than Leigh East this afternoon, and Leigh having trouble making inroads through the Bradford defence. So Leigh once again trying to straighten up and bring this ball away, but the long ball out, but a bad pass there, going to ground virtually at the ankles of the standoff. John Gunning, and that ball going into touch, so down we go to scrum. Bradford Northern 2 feed the ball with Brett Eatey, and the pack knocked down, so Mr. Burt just signalling let's have everybody down. The ball in and out. Good ball out from Brett Eatey to Roger Simpson. Switches the ball nicely inside to Daryl Shelford, and a super pass there from Shelford as Tony Anderson raced round under the post, but good ball, good service there from the base of the scrum. From that scrum, a good long pass out from Brett Eatey to Roger Simpson. Simpson offloaded the ball to Daryl Shelford, and Shelford drew the fullback nicely, and Tony Anderson streaked underneath the post to increase Northern's lead now by an extra 4 points to 44 points to 0. So David Hobbs with a relatively easy kick from underneath the post. So 9 tries on the board, and that's the 5th goal to David Hobbs. So a lot of one-way traffic, as should be expected of a First Division side, but this obviously going to be a good confidence booster for Bradford Northern this afternoon. Things have started to look better over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Good display at Warrington last week and just losing out, but it's Northern with John Pendlebury once again bringing the ball away, but finally brought to ground on the 25. Noble gets the ball out to John Hamer. Hamer takes the drive, but he's met by 2 Leigh players. David Hobbs. Hobbs having a good game this afternoon, full of running. David Hobbs. Good ball out to Carl Fairbank. Tony Anderson. Anderson trying to offload that ball. That's play on. That touched the Leigh player. So Brian Noble straightens up. Had 2 or 3 players outside him there, but Anderson tried to part with that ball. Hit the Leigh player. So it's Northern back to 6 tackles as Marie goes on to attend to Anderson. Got a knock there, but John Hamer taking the drive in up to the post. But Northern looking good this afternoon, throwing this ball about. Eatey from the acting half-back and straight away. A penalty there given. Carl Fairbank was it John Hamer? Didn't look as though he played the ball correctly, so that's pulling down in the tackle. Pulling away, stopping his man going round with there being nobody at acting half-back, so Leigh put the ball into touch on the far side, midway between the halfway and the Leigh East 25. So it's Leigh to get the game underway, but trying to work the blind side, but running straight into the waiting arms of David Hobbs. Leigh once again trying to work that short side, but the cover over there as they look to spin the ball out. The dummy move there when there looked to be a good opening on for Leigh, but just couldn't get the ball out. And Bradford's tackling being spot on this afternoon against these amateurs. So 4 tackles gone. Referee shouts 4 tackles as the ball out with the number 10 there, Phil Pennywick. And the ball floated over the top there. Everybody looking as though it was going to be a forward pass as the winger puts the ball into the box, but Ian Wilkinson picks the ball up, knocks 1 off, knocks 2 off, but finally brought to ground on the 25 by a good tackle by the centre, David Kay. So it's Northern now to get back into this Leigh half of the field. Noble from the acting half-back to Gratian. Gratian offloads the ball nicely to Henderson Gill. Henderson Gill got 1 to beat, but a good tackle on Henderson Gill by the scrum half, Tommy Buxton. And straight away, the little bit of over-exuberance there. Referee shouted held, and the Leigh player there coming in, the fullback, Martin Hudspeth, coming in to try and knock Henderson Gill down, and referee just having a quiet word with them, telling them to cool it down a little bit. But once again, Northern looking good this afternoon when they're moving this ball out wide. Paul Gratian having a good game, offloading the ball, turning his back, men coming and supporting. So it's David Hobbs with the penalty. Puts the ball into touch on the 25. Brian Noble from the acting half-back to Brett Eatey, on to David Hobbs. John Hamer takes the drive, and once again a high tackle. Leigh obviously had trouble in that preliminary round with Chorley when 2 of the players were dismissed. They've had 1 dismissed this afternoon for a high tackle, and obviously this is the difference. But Northern take a quick tap. Paul Gratian knocks 1 off, tries to knock 2 off, offloads the ball, but ball bobbling loose, and straight away referee saying Bradford player there in an offside position, so the pressure taken off Leigh East line. But quick thinking there by David Hobbs to tap that ball and offload it onto Paul Gratian, as Gratian looked to be making inroads, but nope. Not quite. So it's Leigh to restart the game after sat there on the touchline this afternoon, the ball coming screaming at us, but good tackling there by Bradford, knocking that ball out of the Leigh player's grasp, but the ball going back, so Leigh get a chance to try and work this ball out, working the short side. And the ball offloaded by Leigh. Leigh still running, looking to half break these tackles, but coming up towards the halfway line. So it's Leigh now. Good long ball out to the number 14 there, James, who came on at half time for the number 11, Gary Sandby, who'd had a good game, but Leigh with the little chip over the top. 3 Bradford Northern players back there as Ian Wilkinson picks the ball up, shrugs off the scrum half. Mark, but a good tackle there, finally bringing Ian Wilkinson down. So it's Roger Simpson bringing the ball away, trying to bring the ball away from that acting halfback. Brett Eatey on to John Pendlebury. Pendlebury now running, offloads the ball, and the ball just going to ground there, but Brett Eatey sweeping up at the back, out to Daryl Shelford. Shelford looking to get round the outside, but a good tackle on Shelford on the halfway line brings him to ground. Eatey with the ball out to John Hamer. Hamer taking the drive in, bursting through one tackle, but finally 2 or 3 of the Leigh East players get round him as Northern work the short side with David Hobbs. Hobbs offloads the ball nicely there to Shelford. Shelford steps inside, gives the ball to Anderson. Anderson switches the ball, and a try scored there over on that far side. It looks like David Hobbs himself who started that move. Hobbs coming up with the ball, so Northern increasing the lead there, but so it was David Hobbs scoring a try there. Hobbs started that move, got the ball out, supported well. The ball went out to Daniel Shelford. Shelford half broke the tackle, offloaded the ball to Tony Anderson, and David Hobbs on hand there to finally crash over the line and increase the lead now. So that's the 5-0. That's 50 points up to Bradford Northern with that try, and David Hobbs on that far side to try and convert his own try. It's quite a while since we had David on the score sheet as a try scorer, so everybody obviously wanting to get in on the act this afternoon here at Odsal in this Regal Trophy first round. Hobbs meets the ball. Good kick from David Hobbs, and the ball just going over the post. The touch judges looking at one another, couldn't decide whether it was in or out, but looked at one another, raised the flags high. So a good kick there from David Hobbs, the try and the goal scorer there. So 10 tries on the scoreboard, 6 goals to David Hobbs this afternoon. So the score here at Odsal, Bradford Northern 52, Leigh East 0. As Leigh make another substitution there. So Leigh get the game underway again. The ball down as far as Carl Fairbank. Fairbank picks the ball up, looks to drive in, breaks one tackle, looks to turn his back, but the Leigh players taking man and ball. Gratian taking the drive. Good ball offloaded to Brett Eatey. Eatey looking to take his man on, but Leigh player there just charging the ball down. So back we go to 6 tackles for Bradford Northern as the ball comes out. David Hobbs to Gratian once again. Gratian looking to offload, but good tackling by Leigh East. But Paul Gratian revelling in this afternoon as Pendlebury takes the drive up now, up to the 25. Noble from the acting halfback to Hobbs. Hobbs offloads the ball to Anderson, out to Henderson Gill, and Henderson there taking the ball at the second attempt. Good tackle there by Leigh East, but it's Ian Wilkinson now up into the line, runs round 1, runs round 2, knocks 3 off, offloads 2, Roger Simpson out to Daryl Shelford. Shelford with the ball to Marchant going up the wing, but a good tackle on Marchant, and finally forced into touch on that far side. But good flowing rugby from Bradford Northern this afternoon, a chance to throw the ball about against a weaker defence, and the game just stopped shortly for an injury there to a Leigh player who must have gone down in that, attempted to tackle Roger Simpson as he offloaded the ball to Daryl Shelford. Well, don't forget the draw of the second round, an all-important one in the Regal Trophy this year. It's the 25th year of the sponsorship of Imperial Tobacco with the Rugby League, and of course that record all to go for. And the final of the Regal Trophy, it's the first week in January, round about the 6th of January. And of course Bradford Northern contested that final last year with Warrington, but Warrington coming out the winners. But Warrington going out in that first round yesterday afternoon against Leeds, a terrific game over at Watersheddings. Leeds coming out the winners of that one. But everything to play for, and of course the draw tomorrow evening, That's Monday evening, when Bradford Northern will know who they're meeting in the second round. And that played next Saturday and Sunday. The second round of the Regal Trophy played next Saturday and Sunday. So the Leigh player back up on his feet. All right, it'll be Leigh East to feed the scrum at Northern with a big push on there, the big drive on, but referee not happy with the scrum, brings them back down to scrum. The ball in to Leigh. Northern trying to spin the pack round, but the Leigh scrum half looked as though he'd fallen on it, but referee saying the ball not come out properly, so down to scrum we go again. And the conditions a lot better here at Dodsall, and referee penalising Bradford Northern, pushing a little bit too early as that ball went into the scrum, so a chance for Leigh East to relieve the pressure and get out of their own 25. So it's Leigh to start the game underway again, but the forwards trying to take this ball up. Numbers very, very hard to spot on the Leigh shirts, these red shirts with black numbers. The numbers not really regulation rugby league size. They look that little bit smaller than the professional club numbers. So a little bit hard to spot some of these players this afternoon. So it's Leigh trying to bring the ball away. The long pass out, a good pass out, and well held there, but the ball finally being put to ground by James, the number 14 substitute there. Roger Simpson very, very quickly on him, causing that mistake. So it'll be Bradford Northern to feed the scrum just inside the Leigh half of the field. Referee making sure that the pack downs. Eatey gets the ball out well. Simpson, ball offloaded inside. Ian Wilkinson coming up from the full-back position, but good cover tackling there by the Leigh standoff. Northern flipping the ball out. Daryl Shelford makes the break, makes the half break, but he's finally brought down by 3 or 4 of the Leigh East players. Marchant from the acting half-back to John Pendlebury. Pendlebury looking to take the drive, turning his back, looking to offload, but the Leigh East players doing well there, smothering man and ball. Eatey with the run round. Nice little pass, and that ball there. Referee judging it, went back. David Hobbs coming on the reserve. Roger Simpson picks that loose ball up, skips out of 1, skips out of 2. Finally, he's well tackled there, a good tackle on Roger Simpson, but Roger really getting a bit of a gallop up there as Northern once again work the blind. Hobbs off, trying to offlay that ball once again. Leigh charging it down, and the little short pass there that Leigh are charging down, so Bradford Northern go back to 6 tackles as Paul Gratian takes the drive up. Gratian looking to keep on his feet, looking for players coming to offload, but Northern under the Leigh post with the switch on to David Hobbs. Hobbs offloads to Brett Eatey, but referee just spotting there a little knock on. That ball offloaded by David Hobbs. Brett Eatey picking up virtually on his bootlaces, and Mr. Burke very, very quickly there to spot the knock on. So Leigh to feed the scrum. Northern with that big push on again. The ball not coming out. Scrum half going into the scrum a little bit early there, but referee ruling that he wants the scrum down again. So Leigh, the ball shown to the pack there as they try to bring the ball away, but Roger Simpson closing the gap there with the help of Daryl Shelford. Oh, it's Leigh once again trying to bring this ball away, but Bradford Northern's tackling been spot on this afternoon. They've been very, very quick onto the players. Just that one break in the first half that when it looked promising for Leigh East, but Leigh now trying to move the ball across the field. Good pass. And the Leigh players there signalling that, thought that was a high tackle, but David Hobbs, referee signal it was across his chest. So the referee signals the last tackle, on the 6th tackle. So what options have Leigh got? Leigh with the nice little chip over the top. Roger Simpson, well picked up there by Roger. and manages to get the ball away to Ian Wilkinson. But good tackle on Ian Wilkinson, good copybook tackle there from the hooker, the Leigh East hooker. As Henderson Gill comes in field looking for a little bit of work, but he's brought down. Brian Noble from the acting halfback on to Paul Gratian, breaks one tackle. Once again Gratian looking to turn, looking for men coming in support. Pendlebury. Good ball from John Pendlebury to David Hobbs coming at speed, but Hobbs taking a little bit of a knock there. It looked as though he fell a little bit awkward. Gratian once again knocks one off, knocks two off. Good run by Gratian. Good ball offloaded inside to Marchant. Marchant on to Carl Fairbank. Fairbank to Brett Eatey. Eatey looking to push 1-2 off, but finally brought to ground. But good play there by Bradford Northern, and a knock on there by Tony Anderson from that acting halfback. But Paul Gratian had a sterling game this afternoon. Knocked 2 or 3 players off there before offloading that ball, but referee signals that was his mistake on the 6th tackle, so it was a handover to Leigh East. So Leigh looking to bring this ball away, but Northern put some nice passing moves together this afternoon, but probably a little bit over anxious, and that ball just going to ground at the back end when we could have had more points on the board. But it's Leigh now. The Leigh player there running straight back into the cover on the 4th tackle. And once again the kick down the field, finding space, but that ball just holding up on the inside of the touchline as Henderson Gill picks it up. Looks to go inside one, but good tackle on Henderson Gill by his opposing winger, the number 5, Mick Shepherd. Wilkinson trying to work the ball out, going across, but good tackling by Leigh East. They've had a good last 10 minutes in this game, a good tackling stint. John Hamer takes the drive in, knocks one off. A good strong run there by John Hamer. Noble to Hobbs. Hobbs with the long ball out to Carl Fairbank. Fairbank on to Brett Eatey. Eatey, good ball out to Anderson, inside to Carl Fairbank, and Fairbank streaks away under the post. So a good passing move there from Northern, good support play, and finally Carl Fairbank going over underneath the post to extend that lead now to Bradford Northern 56, Leigh East 0, and a relatively easy kick for David Hobbs underneath the post. So David Hobbs converting that try there that increases Bradford Northern's lead, and Leigh East having a good spell there, managing to keep Bradford Northern at bay from the 9th minute of the second half, good 12 minutes. But Northern now, obviously the fitness of the First Division outfit should tell. So the number 10 coming back on, Phil Penivich. He's been the mainspring of this Leigh side. So it's the ball underway again with Roger Simpson. Simpson pins his ears back, looks to break one tackle, but good tackle on Roger Simpson on the 25. Brian Noble from the acting halfback to Ian Wilkinson. Wilkinson coming into the line, but he's well met, well brought down. The ball switched nicely inside to John Hamer. Hamer looking to offload, but John Pendlebury there on his shoulder, but the ball finally smothered by the Leigh players. Eatey gets the ball out to Hobbs. Hobbs once again switching the ball inside. Good strong run by Paul Gratian, but Leigh number 13 there, Phil Gunning, just hanging on to Gratian's Northern once again. Work this ball out with Pendlebury. Pendlebury offloads to Hobbs. Good tackle there. John Hamer just looked as though he was going to pass the ball as referee signals the last tackle. Hobbs with the run round. Brett Eatey with the run round. The ball out to Shelford, but it's a good tackle on Shelford. So on the 6th tackle there, the handover to Leigh East. David Hobbs driving these forwards on this afternoon. Some good distribution from both Hobbs and Gratian that's allowing Bradford Northern to open this Leigh East defence, but referee stops the game. An injury there on the far side to a Leigh East player. 58 points on the scoreboard. 11 tries to Bradford Northern. 7 goals for David Hobbs.
And while in the breaking play, will spectators please note that anyone who wishes to purchase the programme for today's game, they will be on sale at half price in the office after the game. And any spectator leaving the stadium by car via Stadium Road must note it's Leicester Road leading to Heaton Road. There is no right to...
So the Leigh player back up on his feet. A little bit of merriment there with the PA announcements of programmes still for sale, so that just reflects how many people have turned up here at a very, very cold and damp Hodsall Stadium this afternoon for this first round of the Regal Trophy. But it's Leigh now trying to drive this ball out of their own 25, working the short side, but straight away, straight into the cover of David Hobbs and Brian Noble on that far side. As the mist starts to come down a little bit again now, it's stopped raining, so that rain just keeping the mist off, but Leigh looking to bring it away, but still stuck in the middle of the park there as Mr. Burke signals the last tackle. Leigh with the, and a nice, once again, a nice little chip over the top, well recovered, but, and the unfortunate there, the Leigh player gets the ball out, and Brett Eatey scores an easy try. An unfortunate mistake there by the Leigh number 10, nice little chip over the top, regathered the ball, and the ball going back, and Tony Anderson picking that ball up, offloading to Brett Eatey. So Brett Eatey extends Bradford Northern lead by a further 4 points. So the current score, Bradford Northern 62, Leigh East 0. An unfortunate little, good little move there by Leigh East. They'd spotted the gap. There was that little gap there for the ball to be chipped over the top, but as the player gathered the ball, he threw it back, and not a Leigh player on hand, and Tony Anderson picking the ball up. Thankful as David Hobbs strikes the ball well, but that just pulls left of the left-hand side upright. So 12 tries to Bradford Northern, 7 goals here in this first round of the Regal Trophy, and obviously a good confidence booster for the Bradford Northern players this afternoon to give them a chance to work 1 or 2 moves now. The tie obviously beyond Leigh East. Put up a gallant attempt this afternoon, but, and nice little short kick there. A little bit of variation from the kick-off. Some of the Leigh supporters behind are screaming that the ball touched David Hobbs, and the Leigh player there regathering it, but Mr. Burke saying no, it was a knock-on, so down we go to scrum. Midway between the 25 and the halfway as the ball comes out with Neil Summers to Ian Wilkinson. Brett Eatey, should I say, Brett Eatey in at the acting halfback now, on to John Pendlebury. Pendlebury looking to make the half break, open this Leigh defence up, but he's brought down. Noble to Eatey, on to Gratian. Gratian had a good game this afternoon. Hobbs switches the ball inside to Fairbank. Fairbank with that good running, switching the ball off. The ball out to Daryl Shelford. Shelford straightening up, going towards the post, but Northern once again this ball like a hot potato. Marchant out to Roger Simpson, and Roger Simpson going over in the corner there. So once again a move there covering 50 yards of the field. Northern keeping that ball alive. Good play once again from Gratian and Hobbs, and the ball being moved out wide, and Roger Simpson there popping up on the far wing to take that final pass, and once again scored a good try. As we get a change in kickers this afternoon, Henderson Gill coming on to attempt to convert this 13th try of Bradford Northern's. Gilly kicked a lot of good goals in his time. A left-footed kicker is Henderson. And the ball just that little bit short, direction right, but not enough thump in the ball. So 13 tries to Bradford Northern, 7 goals. So Leigh with the heads down a little bit at the moment, but no real disgrace this afternoon. These Barler sides obviously not as fit as the professional sides, but put up a good showing. Had one or two little good short bursts, but Bradford Northern just that little bit too strong for them this afternoon, and 66 points on the scoreboard obviously reflects that as Henderson Gill tries to bring this ball away. Noble from the acting half-back onto Pendlebury. Ball out to John Hamer, but Hamer spilling the ball, and the Leigh player there, the number 3, David Kay, picks that ball up, falls on the loose ball. Leigh trying to move the ball out wide, but Henderson Gill's got his opposing winger, Mick Shepherd, well tackled there. Leigh looking to move the ball out, but Norden up very, very quickly. On the Leigh number 10 there, Penovich. Once again, good tackling stint by David Hobbs this afternoon. Hobbs seems to have had a new lease of life since the pressure of management taken off him. Had a good game last week as Leigh chipped that ball over, and Ian Wilkinson, the ball just hitting his shins there, but referee judging that the ball went back, so it's Henderson Gill from the acting half-back looking to drive the ball out. A good tackle on Henderson Gill, brings him down. Eatey from the acting half-back to John Hamer. Hamer takes the drive up again into the centre of the field, but 3 Leigh East players bring him down. Norden now just that 6 points short of the record score. The ball there going back, referee judging the ball went back as Daryl Shelford brings the ball away. Shelford had some good deep penetrating runs this afternoon from that centre position. Seems to have found a Gratian from the acting halfback, looks to knock one off, looking to offload the ball, but 3 or 4 of the Leigh players finally bring him to ground. Norden now try and move the ball out wide. E.T. out to Hobbs. Hobbs with the little run round to Roger Simpson. Simpson into space. Roger Simpson into space. Switches inside to Tony Marchant. Marchant pins his ears back, and Tony Marchant scores a good try under the post. Good little break there from Roger Simpson. Roger revelling this afternoon in that standoff role. But a good, nice inside ball when he got a player outside him. The ball switched inside to Tony Marchant, and Marchant pins his ears back. And a big cheer going up here at Odstall. Paul Gratian just announced as the man of the match. That's the Regal Trophy man of the match award this afternoon. And if Henderson Gill kicks this will equal Bradford Northern's score of 72 points in any game played. So Gill comes up, strikes the ball and straight between the posts. So Northern now strolling to a handsome lead, 72 points to 0. So Leigh East to get the game underway. And that's a good ball from the kick-off, but the ball there finding touch, and referee signalling that the Leigh East players appealing there to the touch judge that Paul Gratian touched that ball, but touch judge ruling that it's the put-in to Bradford Northern. So Northern go down to scrum. So it's out to Roger Simpson, on to Ian Wilkinson. Wilkinson inside to Brett Eatey, but Mr. Burke on line there to pick up that forward pass. The ball just switched inside from Ian Wilkinson to Brett Eatey. So it's a scrum down midway between the halfway and the Bradford Northern 25. Northern with a big push on, and referee there signalling that ball looked to have gone in the scrum. Brett Eatey very, very quickly from the back of the scrum. Referee signalling the ball had come out as Northern once again with a push on, but the ball out to Leigh East as Leigh looked to see that gap, but Tony Marchant well back there. Good little move from Leigh East. They saw full-back was out of position. So it's Northern to bring the ball away out of their own 25. Roger Simpson. Good break by Roger Simpson. Gets the ball inside to John Pendlebury, but Pendlebury's finally held just short of the halfway line, but it's Marchant. Eatey looking to run at them. Good ball out to Carl Fairbank. Fairbank gets the ball inside to John Hamer. Good tackle on John Hamer, brings him to ground. Northern now looking full of running. The ball out to Roger Simpson. On to Daddle Shelford. Shelford tries to make the half break, but referee signals the last tackle. So Hobbs with the chip over the top, and David Hobbs finding touch. Not quite, the ball just not running, looking for that touch as the Leigh player picks it up, but good tackle there on the Leigh player, trying to work the short side, and looked like Roger Simpson who put his man into touch on that far side, so a mistake by Leigh East, giving the put in to Bradford Northern. So Northern go down to scrum, but referee not happy with that scrum as Brett Eatey fed the scrum, the ball in, out to Roger Simpson. Simpson with the little run round, but Shelford showing a dummy. Nice dummy by Shelford, and the ball bobbling, weaving about. Referee finally giving a knock on. Brett Eatey looked as though he was facing his own post, but referee a little bit nearer than what we are, and finally giving that knock on. Northern trying all the options, but that was a nice little dummy run there with Shelford selling the dummy, straightening up and going towards the post, but finally that ball being spun. It's Northern once again with the big push on. Leigh bringing the ball away. And the scrum half there, quite quick round the base of the scrum. Darren Buxton, but Leigh spilling the ball out, but referee saying it went back, so it's Leigh once again to try and drive out. Referee signals back to 6 tackles. And the scrum half there taking a bit of a knock. One or two of these Leigh players now looking a little bit leg weary, a little bit tired. Obviously the pace of this game this afternoon, but good break by them as the ball there. Referee once again signalling it went back. Henderson Gill tried to dive in on that loose ball, but Leigh once again with that little chip over the top into space. John Hamer's got the ball covered. Ian Wilkinson picks it up, gives it to Henderson Gill. Henderson Gill on to Roger Simpson. Simpson straightens up, props one way, beats one, beats two, gets the ball to Brett Eatey, and Eatey streaking away, but referee adjudging a forward pass there from Roger Simpson to Brett Eatey. So Northern full of running, but Roger Simpson revelling in it this afternoon in the centre of the park. A chance to run round, but that final pass just going forward to Brett Eatey when Eatey was ears pinned back, going for the post to try and get that record score for Bradford Northern. 72 points, the highest that they've ever scored in any league matches, but it's Leigh to feed the ball. Scrum half there, dummying to put the ball in, Northern pushing and penalised by the referee, so Leigh take a quick tap. Bring the ball away up to the halfway line. Dummy soul there, but David Hobbs missing his man out as Leigh with the standoff half there. A good run from the standoff, but finally brought to ground by Tony Anderson on the 25. So it's Leigh now looking to fan this ball out. Once again the chip through, but only as far as Ian Wilkinson. Ian Wilkinson picks the ball up, knocks one off, but finally brought to ground on the 25. Noble from the acting halfback to Eatey. Eatey on to John Hamer, but Hamer finally brought down. Noble on to David Hobbs. Hobbs with a good pass out to Anderson. Anderson, a beautiful dummy by Anderson, on to Henderson Gill, and Gilly streaks in, scores a try in the corner. So Northern now attain their highest score, but David Hobbs, a nice laid-off pass from David Hobbs to Tony Anderson. Anderson saw the gap, sliced between the tiring Leigh centre and wingers, and drew the man nicely. Popped the ball to Henderson Gill, and Henderson Gill going over. So that's 15 tries on the board for Bradford Northern, and a record scored by Northern in any league or cup games. So it's David Hobbs, 10 yards in from the touchline to try and increase that lead that little bit more. A good kick by Hobbs, but once again the ball just hooking left of the post, the ball spinning off the end of his boot. So 2 minutes left on the clock. Bradford Northern 76, Leigh East 0. So Leigh get the ball underway again with that good high kick there, but straight into the hands of Brett Etu. Offloads the ball to John Pendlebury. Pendlebury knocks one off, but finally brought to ground. And there we go, the final hooter goes here at Odsal this afternoon in the first round of the Regal Trophy. Leigh East had the day, obviously, coming and playing here at Odsal, but going out winners. Northern coming out winners by that record margin of 76 points to 0. Well, Paul, man of the match this afternoon. It's been a bit hard work out there. You're blowing a little bit, but a terrific game.
Yeah, very good. All lads played exceedingly well today. We all put it together and everything just come off today. Well, quite good.
That's right. I thought both yourself and David Hobbs in the front row, you were making the inroads. You were
Johnny Eamon and Carl Fairbanks and all lads. Great performance from them all.
That's right. But yourself this afternoon offloading that ball, looking for players coming running, and Dad'll be proud this afternoon.
Yeah, obviously come today, so I hope so. I made a good performance today, so I'm just pleased with everything, how everything's gone.
All right, well, thanks, Paul. Congratulations. The Regal Trophy Man of the Match award this afternoon, so we'll let you get in the bath and have a beer.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks.
Cheers.